Dad always told me stories about a hidden world where brave warriors watch over and protect us.
Isn't that cool?
He always said,
just because you haven't seen something doesn't mean it's not there.
I'm not really sure epic is the term to describe epic.
Well, you know what? Back in the day, the real meaning of epic, I wouldn't use it to describe this. But you internet memers have just ruined that word epic to use it for everything to where it's almost meaningless. So now, yeah, sure, it describes a mediocre CGI animated movie. Why not?
All I got to say is if you're ever going to use the title epic for your movie, that movie better be fucking epic. And this wasn't.
This is more Epic Lady.
Epic Lady?
Yeah, like Epic Lady.
Oh, stop it.
But you know, this is definitely...
Epic fail.
It was. But I gotta try, co-host.
Yes.
I gotta try.
Like the choo-choo, yeah.
Exactly. The little engine that could, because his father was a worthless loser, just like he's gonna be.
Go make some money for me, son, because I suck.
The thing is, though, is that much like Brave, this is, one of I think not far from the last of a series of animated films we're going to see that's directed much more towards women, with a female protagonist, with more of like come on, this is basically a story about a little girl and a bunch of fairies. Let's face it.
Well, yeah, it is. It flips it around, but I wasn't thinking it so much as directed towards women as it was towards younger kids.
And
that's what I wasn't prepared for. And I should have been, because it's based on a book by William Joyce, who did Roly Poly Oly and a bunch of other things that are, more for kids. And the guy, he has this beautiful body of work because he's a great artist and designer. And it shows through the movie. Like the thing I liked the most was the design of the Leaf Men. Like all the design of armor, that works really well. Mm-hmm. But it is written for kids who are probably around 10 years old.
You know what? It's interesting you say that because I didn't really pick that up. Watching the first 20 minutes of the movie, immediately it gets into some action. And you see these Leaf Men, busting out with their bow and arrows, actually killing these goblin boggins. Yeah, you see them actually killing boggins. You even see a shot of a boggin falling, plummeting down to his death, only to land on the windshield of a taxi cab windshield. You see it splat, and the guy's like, "Oh, yeah, I bet you don't get bugs like this out in the big city." Well, and I'm just like, "Wow, that's pretty graphic for a kid."
Well, to be fair, they're boggins. I mean, they're barely.
Oh, and they don't have hearts and souls or nothing.
They kind of don't.
Never mind.
They go very far to establish you don't need to care about these guys.
They're literally born out of a big bag of dicks. They just
wow. I must have went to the bathroom during that scene.
You missed that?
I missed that. The best part of the movie.
No. The dick scene was awesome. It was epic.
I saw it. But the story in and is so much as it is. And this is out. But first off, let me just say this is what is it Fox?
No.
It's DreamWorks.
DreamWorks, yeah.
And this was passed around through a couple different studios before it ended up with them, which is what happens.
I don't blame them.
But Amanda Seyfried voices Mary Catherine, who wants to be known as MK. She's
MK Ultra.
Hipsters.
No. Don't reference the X-Files in this review.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Who is a 17-year-old girl with everything that comes with being a 17-year-old girl. She's on the edge of rebellious. She's cynical. She's been forced to come live with her dad, played by Jason Sudeikis, who is the very definition of the crazy professor.
The absent-minded professor.
Yeah.
Because her mom has recently died, so she's come to live with her dad. Oh, I'm sorry. She's come to live with her dad, who's some kind of geeky scientist who believes that that there's a whole society of people who are tiny who live in the forest.
Can you blame her though?
I was gonna say. I mean, she actually has a point. He seems like a lost cause.
I'm sorry. I took issue with this.
Come on, he's too busy looking for tiny people when he can't even pay attention to his own flesh and blood daughter.
As predictable as it is for me to have issue with this, the guy has a passion. He has something he's dedicated to.
Fuck his passion.
And the women in his life are just so why can't you pay attention to me instead of what you've devoted your life to?
Because it seems like a crazy pursuit. I mean, come on, it's like It could be almost any. He's like, look, I'm sorry, I can't pay attention to you right now. I'm researching how 9/11 was an inside job on the internet. Stop.
It's no different than having Alex Jones as your father. Come on.
Except Alex Jones is almost never right, and this guy is.
Well, in the conceit of this film, yes, this guy is. But if you were to translate to this real life, no, he would not be correct that there are lots of little people in the whole civilization.
This girl is so like, like pre-fed up with him in a way like, well, are you going to actually try to talk to him at all? Or are you just going to like have your attitude get in the way?
No, you're right, and it kind of does fall in that thing that you kind of get annoyed with because it seems. I mean, I don't know. At least when you and I, Liam, when we're talking about this, we seem to notice a lot of these female antagonists lately in these animated features just having that attitude of like, wow, you don't have time for me, then fuck you. I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm going to have my own adventures. I'm brave, all right? I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, but she doesn't even want own adventures here because she's wandering around in the forest and she ends up coming across sort of like a climactic moment in the battle of the little people. These fairies in the forest versus the Boggans, who the queen has been pursued, and we've watched all this sort of build up. Queen has been pursued and basically had her ass beat down. Mm-hmm. And in the moment of her sort of passing to the next world, that transfers this protection over the next soul to become the queen to this girl who ends up reduced down to little fairy people size.
Pretty much the queen of the forest pulls out her matrix of leadership from her chest only to pass it down to the next Autobot. I mean, the next princessy chick that she sees before her. Yeah,
look.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Christian Bale and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I know. I thought you were a Batman reference in that somewhere.
No, people get tired of that.
Look, you people, you've seen Fern Gully, you've seen Avatar. Just go with it.
Yeah.
It's in that realm.
Yeah. So she ends up getting drawn into all this, and it's partially because of her immediate sort of. It's obvious there's something going on, even though at first they're like, oh, I don't like that guy. He's obnoxious. He's in my face. The only teenager in the whole film who's also, fairy-sized, which is Nod, played by Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah.
Clearly there's going to be a romantic interest because he's also cynical and doesn't want to be part of his whole world.
Yeah, he's kind of like a post-teenage knucklehead.
Yeah. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm out of here.
I gotta go fight Boggans again. Great. This is what I want to do with my life.
I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
He goes off doing the tiny people pod race. But,
yeah, right. Was that not the pod race?
Seriously. But fortunately, Colin Farrell voices Ronan, who is actually pretty fucking cool character.
I thought he was really good at it.
I thought he was kind of the central point of this film that I kept coming back to going, I really like this character a lot. Who's the seasoned warrior. He's the guy who's like, he doesn't approve of the decisions that Nod is making, but at the same time, he's being more fair than most people would be in that situation.
He's the stoic Queen's Guard. I mean, like the leader of the Leaf Men. And there seems to be some kind of romantic tension between him and the Queen. So her death, that's one more thing on him. Like, he's taking care of Nod because Nod is the son of his best friend. And he's like, okay, I owe a debt. I want to take care of him. Yeah. Look, if nobody else is going to take care of business, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's, you follow him. It's like, man, every time it focuses on him, I'm like, this is awesome. It should just be his story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's a really cool character. Now, unfortunately, this crisis that's going on is they've got to get this thing, which is basically like the bud of a flower.
The pod that's going to
this
for the
pod
new queen.
And it has to be at the exact right place at the exact right time. But the problem is if they don't get it there in time, if it's in the dark, it will turn dark. It won't be a new queen. It'll be something else, which is what Christoph Waltz, who voices Mandrake, the leader of the Boggans. I laugh at the Boggans.
Wow, you really just said those words.
I know. I really said that out loud.
I know. Did they come on after what did that show? The Snorks?
Between the Snorks and the Banana Splits.
Yeah, the Munchies.
He wants to, because his son has been killed by the good guys, he wants to take this thing and make it his new heir, basically.
Right.
So it's all out war. There's not a lot of hope for our heroes. How will they survive? It's almost certain this will end badly. Okay, it's not going to end badly. Let's face it.
I wish it would.
There'll be some close calls, but ultimately everything's going to work out.
Everything's going to work out.
It would have been that much more interesting if everything wasn't so goddamn telegraphed for an animated film. But you know what? You know what this movie completely reminded me of?
What's that?
And I'm talking about the story, even right down to the characters themselves. The three characters that we have here that are our main focus. No, close, but no Cigar Cyrus. Jack and the Giant Slayer. Jack
Really?
the Giant Slayer, yeah.
Huh.
'Cause, I mean, I thought they had about as much personality and about as much character as anyone in that movie did. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, Ewan McGregor, I thought he was the only one who's somewhat remotely interesting when you compared him to
Jack and the princess.
Compared to Colin Farrell, his character, and the same thing with dealing with the princess and the hotshot kid that doesn't know he's a rebel without the cause. You know?
you're right.
Or the clue. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And I think what kept me going was how much it did, manage to focus on Colin Farrell's character. What was his name?
Ronan.
Ronan, yeah.
Which I immediately went, wait, he's the very opposite of a Ronin.
I know, right?
He's like the guy who's the most indentured servant of the whole thing. It's like, why'd you call him Ronin?
Something I found odd was how Colin Farrell totally did his Irish, natural accent the whole time.
Yeah, it was like, what, was there another fairy kingdom that he came over from?
That's what it felt like. Because for his, his true accent to be so thick, it's kind of like, well, it's almost making a point of itself.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
Yeah. Well, I was just surprised, just looking at it, I was like, wow, is Beyonce the only queen fairy or whatever that they got running around? I was like, where are the rest of the black people at? I was like, she's the only one? Okay, I can understand why they made her a princess. By the way...
It's also why she died first.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, that's why she died first. I was like, wow, really? Come on, people. It's the 21st century. But I have to admit, though, I wasn't too impressed by her voice work. Every time I watched her, it seemed like she was doing voice acting for something else. It didn't seem to match, especially the tone of the character and what they were doing. By the way, I thought the character design on her was terrible. As far as the actual character, she looked like one of those generic Barbie commercials that you see.
I didn't have so much a problem with her voice work, but it did feel like her character came from some other movie and was plugged into this.
Well, agreed. I mean, they certainly got a lot of good voice actors to fill in the gaps in here. And like I said, Colin Farrell is terrific as Ronan, and both the leads are acceptable.
They're acceptable.
But there's lots of good side people. Like there's two slugs for the comic relief that are actually pretty funny a lot of the time. Aziz Ansari
and Chris O'Dowd.
Which,
shockingly enough, Aziz, you're like, I'm sure there's people go, oh, not again, not him. But I was actually laughing my ass off at some of the stuff they had him do.
Who didn't like Aziz Ansari?
Well, you know
Leon.
what? I like him. I like him fine, but I can see how he could be like a bit of a Ken Jeong for some people.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
She's coming. Don't do anything to embarrass me, or it could ruin my chances of being a leaf man.
Why do you want to be a leaf man? They gotta wear uniforms. Me, I like to let it all hang free. You see this? You see that?
Yeah, don't do that. That's vile.
Come on, I know you got a little belly too.
Gentlemen,
Hey, Your Majesty.
Mub, Grub, it's a very nice-looking group of parts. Do you have a favorite?
Boom! Right here, biggest in the bunch.
How about that one?
For real? But it's so...
Perfect. It's perfect. Excellent choice, Your Majesty. Sometimes the biggest one isn't the best one. I told you, she doesn't like gaudy, Mub. Unlike you, she's got class.
I've seen it. Yeah, because I want to say he was in another animated feature not that long ago too, where he was kind of playing up the same thing, but just not as good.
I know. I want to say that myself.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking about a movie he was actually. He's almost like a cartoon character
like
himself.
Cartoon character.
Well, I would look it up, but I'm not going to.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Don't stress yourself out. All right.
But they make for effective comedy relief.
Yeah, they do
most of the time, and they aren't overused. And they boarded on it because there were times where I was afraid, they're going to run into the ground. I'm going to get sick of these guys. But then they back off.
Yeah.
I didn't so much like the character of. Well, I liked the character of the father in theory, but I didn't like how every time they cut to him, he was so overly animated in his clumsiness and goofiness. Like just really trying to make a point. Like whoever the animator was too enthusiastic on making him fumble and trip and flail wildly every time.
That's the other thing. Some of these characters, like I said, with Beyonce's character, with that father especially, it definitely seemed like they were coming from different animated movies. These character designs where you look at the father, he's kind of the traditional kind of animated, 3D kind of animated look where a lot of his features are exaggerated.
Right.
Where you look at the Woodsman, they all kind of look somewhat generic in a way. Sure, the costumes look all awesome, but there was a consistency there where I was like, okay, this is just kind of weird, accepting this world, realizing that, these people are from the same world, but it just didn't connect with
Well, the thing is, for me,
didn't feel like
Leon, you kept saying how much you like the design, and I wasn't thrilled about it, actually. I was like, I read the book Fairies back in the day, and gnomes and all that stuff, and I just went, this is all actually kind of generic.
Well, okay, I will say, maybe I sold it too much. And not so much the design of the whole world, because I see what you're saying. It is fairly generic. It's just that when I looked at the individual detail of the Leaf Men, like their armor and a lot of that was the stuff that I liked.
I guess it was the decision to make them look the way they did that I had more of a problem with, that I thought was generic. But they did make a point of making sure everybody was a little bit different. And I did think that, like, in the sense of, like, creating this world, when you're seeing these points that you're supposed to go, wow, isn't it beautiful? You did go, yeah, that's actually really beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like these sequences where it's supposed to be awe-inducing.
Sure.
Awesome.
It does have moments.
Is pretty cool at those moments. But I think the biggest struggle this film has is like just trying to be too many things to too many people.
True.
And still trying to play it completely safe for the entire time. It feels like animation film by committee.
Yeah.
And I suspect that's exactly what it was. I mean, it has a lot of strength, like I said, some of the design stuff. A lot of the voice actors in here are really good. But ultimately, it's just not that, when it tries to be funny, it's just not that funny. I mean, the slugs are funny at points, but, I'll give it to them, they're never really irritating. That's a huge plus for characters like that. But nothing here ever made you go, I'm going to remember this a week from now.
Nothing in the script pops. And the story itself, the plot itself, is too much of everything we've seen.
It's unfortunate too, because you got a villain being voiced by, Christoph Waltz. Is that his name, right?
Yeah.
But did I get that right?
Yeah.
That's right. Thank God.
You win.
Yeah. But the thing is, you could tell the guy was really trying to have a good time with what he was given. Yet you could tell that, the strength of the writing as far as his villain was very, it was kind of generic. It was generic as well.
And plus you get, Oscar winner, double Oscar winner Christoph Waltz, and don't really do that much with him.
No, that's saying for a villain, he really doesn't get a lot of cool scenes.
Nah.
He just kind of twirls his mustache every once in a while and then fails miserably ultimately. Sorry, spoiler. Didn't see that coming.
If only there was some Jewish woodsman that he could really sink his teeth into, give him some real purpose to, see him all out in Skeletor mode. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, seriously. But this is what it is. It's one of those films you can't hate it. I don't even dislike it. It's just,
it's there.
It feels like they just didn't put in enough effort to make a great film. I mean, they brought it to Pixar at one point, and Pixar immediately went, yeah, no.
Not epic enough. Yeah. That's what they said.
I can't blame them. It just doesn't try that hard, quite frankly. If you have a kid, they'll love it. This is perfect for kids. But for adults, this is a low matinee.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If for a little kid, it'll be awesome. But for everybody else, it's like, it's not bad. Yeah. It's it's hard to even talk about it now because we saw it just a few days ago, and you can't really remember it. It doesn't go enough in any one direction, and that's unfortunate. But it's a low matinee.
Now, you guys are, you hit it right on the head, Leon, when you said, we were sitting here trying to remember what this movie was about. And there's a reason for that. But, that's why I'll be the first one to say, Epic, you should have changed the title to Meh. Because that's kind of what it was. With stories like this, especially when you're dealing with, this whole fairy type world, there's so many opportunities to do so much more with it. We've seen other things. We read plenty of books, well, at least you guys have, comic books and all kinds of other crap, to go, okay, wow, you guys really had an opportunity to really expand this world. I think my biggest problem is that they didn't expand that world enough. No. You didn't get to know that world at all. For me, it's a rental. It's a rental. I've forgotten about this. I will never go out of my way to see this again.
Yeah, it's like if you see something like Arthur and the Invisibles, and then you watch this, you're like, well, I don't understand why this had to be made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there are problems going on with the environment and stuff and things, and it's up to DreamWorks to make it different.
You know, that's another thing. Like you take a movie like Fern Gully, like where it's like, oh, it's just Fern Gully again. But that did really have like a strong environmental message.
Yeah.
And this seems to start off that way, but then the more it gets into it, you're like, this doesn't have that.
You get it.
Yeah.
You get it.
It's like, wait, this is just the rot versus the green.
Environmental message is like, no. It's the problem is that there are these little gray guys who like things to be rotted. So that's what we need to call Congress about.
You know what? I thought it was better when Swamp Thing and Animal Man did it recently.
Agreed. Wait, I thought you said we were the comic book thief.
Oh wait, you guys are. Yeah, no, forget about what I said.
Dad, I had the most messed up dream. There were talking slugs and tiny little soldiers and...
Hello.
Aw, man. Dad, I'm here. Uh-oh.
Ozzy, no kisses.
Run!